so very much. I thank also the poet. And I always say that poets are the unacknowledged legislators of the world. And so it is fitting, therefore, that I center myself by recalling a poem written by a philosopher poet, a guy called Bruce Lee, writing to his friend Jun Rhee. He raises a very profound question in the poem. He says, "Who am I?" That is the age-old question asked by every man at one time or another, though he looks into the mirror and recognizes the face, though he knows his own name and age and history, still he wonders deep down, who am I? Am I a giant among men, master of all I survey, or an ineffectual pygmy who clumsily blocks his own path? Which are you? The doubters said, men can't fly. The doers said, maybe, but we will try. And finally soared into the morning glow while non-believers watched from down below. Which are you? Are you a doubter or a doer? That's the question. Who am I? I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer of big dreams, dreams of intensity, dreams of immensity. That's who I am. And I set myself tasks impossible so that I draw myself out of any comfort zone as we wrestle with these persistent and trenchant problems that trouble and bedevil our country. Who are we? I'm happy to be here with you today. I'm not here to give a speech. I hate speeches. I'm here to engage with you, to chat with you, in instances to take you into my confidence so we understand what we are about. We may just define ourselves properly. Who are we? I made certain jarring pronouncements. I said, by the end of this year, Botswana Railways will be profitable. I look at the leader of the opposition. He's a skeptic. Maybe he's a doubter. And he engaged with the minister in Parliament, and I listened and watched. Asked the minister, when last did Botswana Railways make profit? I think he said over 10 years ago. Yes. Do you think realistically and reasonably it can make profit? He did that. He wasn't certain. There were equivocations and vacillations on his part. He wiggled somehow through some fudged answer. I called him and I set him down. I said, when I said the Botswana Railways will be profitable, I wasn't negotiating. I was declaring something that must happen. And your job is to make it happen. And he made the solemn commitment then that he would make it happen. And it will happen. Why? Because Botswana Railways is sitting on contracts that it is unable to fulfill. Revenue. You see trucks ferrying loads of cement and other product along our roads, damaging the roads. It tells you that there's a lot of demand for bulk transportation, and the cheapest is rail. What is the problem then? What is the problem? It's not a problem of there's no market, there's no business, the business is there. What is the problem? Practices, processes, institutions, sometimes even personalities. Not a very difficult problem to resolve. Botswana Railways must be profitable, it shall be profitable. Botswana Meat Commission will be profitable. Air Botswana will be profitable. And you know what I might just do? I might just send you there. I might just send you there. You seem to have a penchant for rescuing ailing entities. You might have to deploy those attributes where they are needed most. We will talk about it. Said, I'm here to take you into my confidence. There's nothing to hide. Melka Cabral says, tell no lies, claim no easy victories. That's what I try and do. Loyal to those principles unto death. So we are here today to shine the spotlight on ourselves in the aviation industry. Difficult, sometimes unpleasant process. The poet William Butler Yeats says, it takes more courage to probe the depths of your own vulnerabilities, to probe yourself, to examine yourself, than it does for a soldier to fight on the battlefield. We are here to do that difficult, seemingly impossible task of engaging in a rigorous, painful self-examination, so that when we emerge from these engagements after the next day and a half or 2 days, we have a critical self-inventory. We've determined what is wrong with how we are doing things and how better to do them. That's why we are here. And so we need to resolve a number of challenges. The one relating to Air Botswana, there's going to be an unbundling. Air Botswana, the airline, separate. Civil Aviation Authority of Botswana, the regulator. And a third aspect, which is the management of the airports. 3, civil aviation, regulating, Air Botswana, an airline alongside others competing, management of the airports. That now forces us to summon investments into infrastructure development in the airports, chief amongst which is the Maun airport. We are well on our way. We are at an advanced stage, in fact. We have all but secured investments for that purpose. Not just for this airport, but for others as well. Why? Because we are strategically positioned, located as a country. You want to go east, you want to go north, you want to go south, you want to go west. Botswana is at the center. So we have the advantage of strategic positionality as a country. Why are we not taking full advantage of it? It's a huge, huge opportunity. It's an advantage. And so we need to achieve the highest levels of connectivity, because in relation to our position on the continent, we have no competition. Who are we? Are we masters? Are we giants among our peers, or ineffectual pygmies who clumsily block their own path? We've been the latter, unfortunately. We must be candid. We must acknowledge the errors that we've committed thus far. The better for us to recommit ourselves to correcting them. It's important. We must not meet here to flatter and fudge statistics and keep reciting figures, because one scholar said there are three kinds of lies. Says there are lies, damned lies, and statistics. Sometimes we marshal statistics to flatter and deceive ourselves. We need to be very honest about these and understand that we are dealing with real issues, interests of creatures of flesh and blood, the unnumbered throng, the masses of our people who expect from us serious answers to their challenges. So the unbundling is in the offing. The legislation will be tabled, hopefully, at the next sitting of Parliament. And we call upon all members of Parliament to actively engage on these matters so that we pass the legislation. We are wrestling with where we are, honestly. We've determined where we ought to be. You will refine our thoughts in relation to where we ought to be. And the challenge then is, how do we get ourselves there? And often when we wrestle with these things, we present whatever views we have as gospel. We speak with feigned authority. We are just seekers after the truth, all of us. Whether you're president or you're an ordinary citizen, we engage on an equal footing, seeking to resolve these challenges together. And so you must bring forth the ideas, the criticisms, the critiques, so that we can then properly reflect on how we ought not to do things and how we ought not to behave if we want to move forward. Air Botswana will most likely under your stewardship. Most likely. It's not a certainty. Don't go out there and say, the president has appointed. No, I haven't. Please. I'm just reflecting, thinking aloud. And I'm asking you to think with me. I'm not making any authoritative pronouncements on these matters. We need, if we are going to boost our tourism, which we have to do, we need to bring long-haul flights here. We have to do that. We can do it. It's not impossible. We need to improve our infrastructure. across the breadth and dimensions of the country. We have, as a country, qualities aside from our strategic location. We are a very stable, credible, peaceful democracy with the highest credit rating. Counts for something. We therefore are attractive to foreign investment. We are. And I'm not talking just resource-seeking FDI. I'm talking market-seeking and efficiency-seeking foreign direct investment. You might say, what market for a population so small? No. Because of our strategic location, we provide the quickest route to over 300 million people in the region. That's a huge market. So we've got to improve our air transportation and our surface transportation as well. So this air connectivity will help us a great deal. Happily, you as the industry players and experts are now seized with the responsibility of providing guidance to me and to your government so that we implement the best strategies coming from yourselves. We've heard how they have turned around a country in terms of its safety, placed us well above the African average. We need to take full advantage of that. So we must find ways of ensuring that we do. We need to bring, I was talking to some big investor from Romania last night. He was highly thrilled to be in Botswana. He says to me, look, this place is much like Dubai. Never been here. And he says when a friend of his asked that they come here, he tried to talk to travel agencies, ask about Botswana. They knew absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing about Botswana. He came back to him and said, we can't assist you. And he says, when he landed here, he was pleasantly surprised at what he beheld. So maybe we haven't done enough to position and market our tourism. Maybe we haven't reached out to other parts of the world. We've been content to tread the beaten path. We need to open new pathways. We need to find other markets. We need to engage those markets. We need to bring those tourists here. In terms of numbers, I heard a figure of about 300,000 tourists, visitors who came to Maun, the airport. Let us set ourselves a higher target. Let's have over 1 million coming. And we need to find ways. Ease all the strictures and restrictions that they face when they want to come here. And make sure. We are engaging with several countries now to remove visa requirements. It's important for us to do this, especially for our African brothers and sisters. This negative profiling, if you come from an African country, you are branded already, marked from the get up, something we've got to move away from and embrace. Welcome these visitors. They come here. We have a lot to offer. We are the best in what we have, so we must bring them here in their hundreds of thousands, in their millions even. And it is doable. All it requires are doers, not doubters. So all those involved in the tourism industry are now called upon to engage around these issues and bring us solutions. I want you to complain and say, this president doesn't listen. We gave him all the answers. That's the accusation. Not, we don't know what he's thinking. He's not giving us the answers. No, I don't have answers to give you. I want answers from you. You are the experts, are you not? What expertise do I profess in aviation? So I must listen to the industry experts, which you are. So you must guide me. You must tell me what we need to do so that we do it together. And so I'm here to request humbly that you engage over the next 2 days to provide practical, ambitious solutions. Set yourselves impossible targets. I've made 4 dangerous pronouncements. I've said Botswana Railways will be profitable by the end of 2025. Botswana Agricultural Marketing Board, Botswana Meat Commission, Botswana Railways. Difficult, yes. Impossible, maybe the doubters will say, but I deal in the impossible. If it is not impossible, it doesn't interest me. And as a country, we've trashed the conventional. We've been hostages of the commonplace. We have failed to break free of the present context and change and redefine it, both in terms of its content and its character. It's time for business unusual. The time for the beaten path is long past. We now must be innovative. We must subject ourselves to vigorous subjacent experimentation. The knowledge economy is an experimental economy. You can't thrive if you can't dream, you can't imagine. You must break free of the frozen crust of the present and venture into the realm of the far removed, the speculative. And from there, look at what is, so that we can transform this country together. It's not my task alone, if it is even my task at all. It is more your task as the experts. So your leaders will fail, they will flounder if you don't feed them with ideas, you don't keep them engaged. There's no way that any leader will succeed. You need to engage the leadership. And the leaders themselves need to make themselves available So they must not become their excellencies and be detached, aloof, holier than thou, demigods. No, we're all human. Talib Kweli says, I'm in the front of the line. I ain't tripping, but I stumble sometimes. I need you to hold me, to support me, to give me ideas. I am grateful to have come here to engage with you, just to be in your presence. Enjoy the fellowship of the Holy Spirit that moves all of us. And at this point, nothing gives me more pride and joy than to officially declare your Pitso open. To borrow from the Director of Proceedings, we are now almost at our cruising altitude. We went from taxiing, we took off, we soared. We are now reaching our cruising altitude. But keep your seat belts fastened. It might just get turbulent as we ride. We surrender to the air. Toni Morrison says if you surrender to the air, you might ride it. We are surrendering to the air now so that we can ride it together. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the privilege. Thank you for the privilege of your company here today and the pleasure of your kind attention. Thank you so very much.
Mr. President, if I could humbly